Hello, Diana. Thank you very much for joining us today. And it's a pleasure to have you all the way from Zagreb, Croatia. And everyone here at Kiko Mobile Messaging in Zimbabwe, Harare, is delighted to have you. So, welcome to the show, Diana. How are you? Thank you for being the first guest of our webinar this year.
Hello, Farai. Thank you for inviting me to co-host this webinar with you and giving me an opportunity to introduce myself and my company to your audience. As you said, my name is Dajana Čučuk, and I'm key account executive for wholesale clients in Infobip. Although located in Europe, like you said, in Croatia, I've been working for Africa for almost 7 years. Now, a little bit about my company and what do we do. So, Infobip is a global cloud company communication platform that enables businesses to connect with their customers through various communication channels, such as SMS, email, voice, chat apps, and more. In short, we help businesses to engage their customers with a personalized and timely manner, improving customer experience and increasing customer satisfaction. Additionally, we provide a range of tools and services that help businesses automate their communication processes and analyze customer data, allowing them to make data-driven decisions and optimize their customer engagement strategies.
Diana, thank you very much for that very detailed intro on who Infobip are and the role that you play in the enterprise communication space. So I know you personally, and professionally, we've worked together on multiple projects. I think we speak on almost a daily basis. So it's good for our wider audience here in Africa, Zimbabwe, to actually understand what you guys do. Just to add a bit more context on that, us as Geeko Mobile Messaging, we're an official partner of Infobip, bringing the services that Diana mentioned to the Zimbabwean market to ensure that Zimbabwean enterprises are connecting to their customers. And most importantly, we're touching specific use cases that are making the communication space from an enterprise perspective tick, and we've got good use cases that we are always constantly working on to ensure that we provide the right environment in terms of communication space. Now, the reason why we have you here, Diana, is to discuss fraud prevention methods in business messaging, which is very critical in this day and age. So I'll just cut straight to the chase and actually ask you to explain for those of us at home or at work who don't know what business messaging fraud is. Just in summary, what is business messaging fraud? Can you enlighten us a bit?
Of course, Farai. Business messaging fraud refers to any deceptive activity that takes place through messaging channels, such as text messages, emails, calls, or chat apps, with the aim of obtaining sensitive information or money from unsuspecting individuals or businesses. Business messaging fraud can cause significant financial loss and damage to a victim's reputation. Overall, business messaging fraud is a serious threat to individuals and organizations alike, and it's important to remain vigilant and take steps to protect yourselves and your business from these types of scams.
Thank you, Diana. I think certainly that's a very good description that's on point, because if we look at the bigger picture, times have actually shifted. I think specifically post the COVID-19 pandemic, where we really became accustomed to digital services, communicating with our favorite brands and products online, it now meant that all our information is online and we're now vulnerable, and we need to actually share some of this information to third parties as end users and as enterprises and big businesses as well, to ensure that services are flowing as they should. But it does actually expose specific data, financial data, personal data. And this is where the hackers, fraudsters are really now focusing on, because this is where we're spending most of our time. I think if it was maybe 10 years ago, we'll be finding that people are following us to steal our money. But now people are following us digitally to steal our money, steal our information. So, what ways can businesses protect its customers from attacks from hackers and fraudsters?
Okay, you're completely right about this. We are exposing ourselves too much in various ways. There are many ways that a business or its customers can be attacked by fraudsters and hackers. But let me mention three most common ways and allow me to briefly explain each. The three most common examples of business messaging fraud are phishing, smishing, and vishing. With phishing, scammers use seemingly real email address that seems to be from trusted source. One of the common scenarios here would be sharing a link with you that urges you to input information like your full name, social security number, and credit card number. Secondly, smishing happens when fraudsters use text messages or common messaging app to obtain similar information like your banking details. Like the previous two types of scams, wishing also gains access to your personal information, but these methods uses a phone call or voicemail to prompt users to expose private information. It is very important for businesses and customers to remain careful and take steps to protect themselves from these types of attacks, such as by implementing strong security measures, training employees on cybersecurity best practices, and staying up to date to the latest threats and vulnerabilities.
No, again, I think what really comes to mind immediately is the importance of actually training and empowering your people within your organizations to actually be aware of what type of threats there are, and even as businesses and enterprises as well, educating your customers and end users. And I can actually vouch for Infobip as well. Constantly, you're posting articles and blogs to ensure that the public is educated about fraud and the key prevention methods. And likewise, here at Geeko Mobile Messaging, we really follow suit to ensure that some of these methods are actually really pointed out to the public, and they'll be able to identify key scenarios of when this will occur. So, with that being said, you mentioned phishing, smishing, etc. But there are certain types of messages that we tend to get, and they're different. So, for example, financial messages, marketing messages. It could be a message for entertainment, could be anything. So, should all types of messaging be treated the same? Because sometimes I'm receiving an OTP for authentication and I want it instantly in order to actually get verified, because the longer that's in limbo, maybe I'm giving an opportunity for these hackers and fraudsters that we just spoke about to actually pounce on my data, steal my information, and expose myself, or maybe from an enterprise perspective, expose its clients in the instance of a bank. So my question is, should all messaging be treated the same? Is it treated the same from a messaging perspective, from a CPaaS perspective?
No, actually, all types of messages are not treated the same, as different types of messages may have varying levels of sensitivity and importance, as you said. For example, transactional message can contain financial information, OTPs for verification, and other sensitive data may require stronger security measures and greater attention to privacy than general marketing or informational messages. But to protect sensitive information, it's essential to use secure communication channels such as end-to-end encryption, and to ensure that the message is only accessible by intended recipient. Additionally, it may be necessary to implement additional security measures such as two-factor authentication or password protection to safeguard sensitive messages. In summary, it's crucial to consider the sensitivity and importance of different types of messages and treat them accordingly to ensure that sensitive information is protected and secure.
No, Dad, I think that's certainly a breath of fresh air hearing that from you, that some messages are actually treated as high priority due to the sensitivity that they carry. So I think it really then accomplishes the goal of ensuring that the end user gets their messages in a safe and secure way. And at the same time, you're not compromising the user experience. Because, for example, I mentioned verification of an OTP. Maybe I want to purchase something or I want to have a banking transaction. I want that quickly. And we also have to have it in a safe manner. So I think that's brilliant to hear. And then another thing, when we really look at the digital transformation that's taking place globally, we find that there are now a lot of players and a lot of vendors in the enterprise communication space, and a lot of things are really happening digitally. But in terms of actually certifying your presence in terms of your security and credibility, is there any certification that maybe as a customer or an enterprise from an Infobip perspective that you have that will actually guarantee my chances of my data being safe, such as ISO certification or PCI DSS? Is there anything of that sort that we can get from Infobip?
Of course, our company has achieved several credentials and certifications to uplift security standards and compliance. Some of the major certifications and standards that we have achieved include ISO, IEC, actually three of them. First one is 27001. It shows that our company has implemented appropriate security measures to protect its customers' data. Second one is 27017. It shows that we have implemented cloud-specific security controls to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability of our customers' data in the cloud. Third one is 2708. It demonstrates our commitment to protecting our customers' personal information in the cloud. Then by the GDPR, we are compliant with EU law on data protection and privacy for all in the European Union and the European Economic Area. HIPAA shows that we are in compliance with the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. And I would like to mention one more, that's SOC2 Type 1. It provides assurance that our security controls and processes meet the criteria of security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. You can also have a look at the certification we have on our official webpage because they are all publicly shared.
Diana, I think the longer you went on with your list, I think the more convinced I was getting. I think this is what people need to hear, and businesses as well, to actually understand that they have a safe and secure platform, that in this age, they're really protecting their end users, they're protecting themselves as an organization, and any other third parties that they're dealing with. For me personally, what stood out there out of all the certifications you mentioned is particularly to do with the cloud. I think nowadays we're finding that a lot of services are now dependent on the cloud. I mean, you know about the CPaaS services, the cloud contact center as a service. These are all on the cloud. I mean, it's good that we're actually protecting our end users and businesses on the cloud with such certifications. So I think the proof is definitely in the pudding there, and everything is above board. So I would be satisfied with what you've shared there, definitely. So, are there any other features physically on the Infobip platform that are key to ensuring that we are on board in terms of avoiding fraud, and that our fraud prevention methods are top notch? Things such as audit trail, because we know a lot of people will have access to the platforms, or even maybe if someone gets access, what features are there to actually prevent and maintain that everything runs smoothly and that everything is above board?
Yes, of course. Our platform provides several key features that enhance security and protect customers' data, and some of which include, as you mentioned, audit trail. It enables customers to track and monitor all activities related to their account, including user actions, system events, and data access. Then we have end-to-end encryption, ensures that all messages and data transmitted between users are securely encrypted and protected from interception by unauthorized parties. Then we have two-factor authentication, adds an extra layer of security and user accounts by requiring user to provide two forms of identification before accessing their accounts. I would like to mention also role-based access control, which defines and manages user roles and permissions. And then redundancy and disaster recovery that ensures that data and services are available even in the event of disaster or system failure.
Great, Dan. I think it's very good to hear that this is what's available. And as I mentioned previously, there are a lot of new players coming in. Some are actually bad actors, but knowing that there's someone out there with the level of platform that really enhances security to ensure that whether there are multiple users on the platform, everyone gets the roles that they require, and that it's specific to their needs and their department needs. And this actually then tightens the tap really into ensure that there aren't any leakages from a security perspective. So this is brilliant. And I think with that being said as well, we've got a couple of questions from some of our key clients, some of which I'm sure you're familiar with. So the first one here we have is from Joe and Omega at Doves. So Doves here in Zimbabwe is one of the leading funeral assurance providers, and they have asked, what methods or processes are used by Geeko and Infobib and its service providers to ensure that my data, including my customers, is processed by your service and that it's secure and cannot be accessed by anyone other than their own internal delegates?
Thank you, Dose, for your question. That's an interesting one. So, Infobip employs several methods and processes to ensure the security and privacy of customer data, including data encryption, access control, data segregation, compliance with standards and regulations. As also covered earlier, we are certified with several industry standards and regulations, such as ISO, IEC certificates, GDPR, and HIPAA, which require us to implement and maintain effective security controls and processes to protect customer data. Then I would like to mention service provider due diligence to ensure that service providers meet our security and privacy standards. It's required from our service providers to sign an agreement that ensures the protection of customer data and adherence to our security policies. And I would like to mention also data retention and disposal, which ensures customer data is retained for only as long as necessary and securely disposed of when no longer needed.
Wow, Diana, that is extremely comprehensive. And again, I think this then ticks all the right boxes. If maybe a big organization or a startup is really looking for the right solution in terms of a CPaaS or communications provider, knowing that all those due diligences are done in terms of verifying third parties and any external or additional players who need to come into the frame in order to give and enhance the service that the customer or enterprise may need to achieve their communication goals. And additionally, here in my notes, I actually noted down access control, which you mentioned. I think this is brilliant in the age where multiple departments will have access to the platform. A lot of people may have access to the platform, maybe even 30 or hundreds onto one account. You never know, anything may happen. Maybe someone may be upset within the organization and use the tools to actually tarnish the image of the organization or target specific financial information and act in a unsolicited manner. So I think access control is very important, coupled with the audit trails as well. So that's super to hear, and I'm glad to hear that all those functions and solutions are there within the InfoBip environment, passed on to Geeko Mobile Messaging as well, due to our partnership. And the last question I have from you here is from Alex and Phil at Bereka. You know, we've worked with them closely on their startup project for delivering last mile cash on behalf of Mukuru cash recipients, which has done wonders to the Zimbabwean market. So Alex and Phil have said, yeah, one of the approaches that companies adopt to streamline and control the nature of outside communication is to restrict the same to a select number of executives and corporate communication experts. In your view, is this the best approach?
Well, it can be an effective approach to streamline and control the nature of communication. However, whether it's the best approach depends on the specific needs and circumstances of the company. On one hand, it can ensure that messaging is consistent, on brand, and aligned with the company's values and objectives. It can also help prevent misinformation, misunderstanding, and communication breakdowns. Additionally, having designated experts responsible for external communication can ensure that the company is presenting a professional and cohesive image to the public. On the other hand, it can also create bottlenecks and delays responding and customer inquiries, media requests, and other external communication needs. It can also limit the perspective and insight of the company received from customers, stakeholders, and the general public. In my view, the best approach to outside communication is a balance between control and openness. This is achieved by having the designated teams or individuals responsible for external communication, but also allowing for input and feedback from other departments and stakeholders. However, I can say that we in InfoWeb, as a provider of communication and messaging solution, understand and the importance of effective communication with stakeholders, both internally and externally. We also recognize the value of empowering and broader range of employees to communicate externally, provided that there are clear guidelines and policies in place to ensure consistency and alignment with the company messaging and values. So ultimately, the most effective approach to outside communication depends on the nature of the company, the specific situation, and the stakeholders involved. We work closely with our clients to understand their communication needs and develop customized solutions that meet their unique requirements.
Wow, Diana, I think that just goes to show that the enterprise communication space is actually massive and shouldn't be underrated, because already there you're mentioning that not one size fits all. You need to really understand your communication needs, and not every organization is the same. So I think it's really worth investing in your communications as a business, because now communication is ultimate. And definitely, I know you guys at InfoBib are very keen on your customers in terms of the experience you give them, hand holding to actually ensure that they get the right solutions. Because I think it's very easy in this industry, especially in the tech world, to just throw different products, encourage certain behavior that will just get maybe the customer to transact. But at the end of the day, they're actually sharing information that's vulnerable in order to achieve their end goals, such as Bereka in this case, for example. So it's good to hear that there are these measures in place, that you actually do have a customer first approach. And I think that's the way to actually go in this day and age, whereby customer data and information is all over the place. It's in the digital ecosystem. So it's important that it's managed in a cohesive manner, and that the customers actually strategize specifically to get their end goals in communication, both internally and externally. So, Diana, thank you very much for joining us today. I think we could go on and on, because I think these are topics that are at the center of both our organizations, and I think it's a pleasure having you. And from everyone at Geeko Mobile Messaging and here in Harare, Zimbabwe, Thank you very much for joining us, Diana.